Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, cause one art form wasn't enough, and welcome back to the Summer of Gaming. Well, much like last time, we're going to be looking at yet another 2000s movie tie-in game. In this case, we'll be looking at Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the ever-divisive remake of the Gene Wilder classic based on the Roald Dahl book of the same name, following a destitute boy and his family getting the opportunity of a lifetime when finding one of the 5 hidden golden tickets meant to give access to 5 special children to explore the elusive Wonka factory, helmed by the ever-eccentric Willy Wonka. While the movie did well at the box office, critics and audiences could not have been more split on it. Some ripped it apart, calling it Burton's worst movie. Some liked the new spin on the story and the creative visuals. Currently, it seems to be one of those movies that's going under a lot of reevaluation, getting a bit more praise than it did when it originally came out. Though that being said, you still have people who say the movie doesn't hold up very well. The point is, the movie was super popular, they wanted a way to advertise it, and naturally, it got its own video game. Released on the same day as the movie in the US, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the obligatory tie-in game for the 2005 movie, released on the GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, and Windows. Put out by 2K Games, the same publisher behind Borderlands and BioShock, the game had different developers depending on which version you play. The GBA game was handled by regular Game Boy developer Digital Eclipse, while the PC version was done by Imagine Engine, both of which ended up going under the same umbrella, Backbone Entertainment, for some time now. But the version we'll be looking at is the main console release, handled by High Voltage Software, the same studio responsible for the 2015 Saints Row game, as well as Lego Racers, and a couple other winners like Amazing Spider-Man 2, Family Guy the video game, a Zombieland game, an Atari Jaguar game tie-in for White Men Can't Jump, and hilariously enough, Nicktoons MLB. Oh, but if you thought the Lemony Snicket game was bad, game critics did not hold their punches with this one. This game was met with pretty bad reviews, criticizing the camera, the controls, and the game being too short. Though, I gotta interject and say, if the game is already not that good, the game being short does not seem like a bad thing to me. Well, with all that in mind, let's see if this game is good enough to be spared going down the bad egg chute. This is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory on the GameCube. So we begin with the story of the movie. Charlie Bucket is the youngest of a poor family, including his parents and grandparents who are delegated to sharing one bed. They are in desperate need of a miracle, and one shows itself in the form of getting a golden ticket. Right away, you'll notice the, let's say, interesting design here. It's not really bad per se, it's just very stylized. Going back to the Lemony Snicket game, the graphics in that tried to go for a more realistic look with the characters, or as realistic as they could look with that generation of gaming. Here they aim for what I'd describe as a CG Tim Burton look. It's not the worst looking game I've ever seen in my life, but it's certainly a style that takes some getting used to. I don't know what it is about these few 2D cutscenes, but I honestly found them more appealing. They kind of look like they were done by the same artist who did Scary Godmother. I vibe more with stuff like this than the CG cutscenes. First level in, and you're playing as Charlie roaming around the town to collect dollar bills so he can buy a Wonka bar. This includes climbing boxes and slanted pieces of wood to get to higher platforms, sledding on a trash can lid, and roaming down alleyways so that you can collect these dollar bills. And as far as I'm concerned, throw in some corpses here, and I'm pretty comfortable saying this is a Silent Hill game in disguise. I mean, this is the first level, and they begin with such depressing looking scenery. Granted, it is kind of like it is in the movie, but yeah, this is definitely putting your best foot forward, right? Otherwise, the first stage is easy enough. Once you get the $10, Charlie buys a Wonka bar and gets the golden ticket. And like that, him and his Grandpa Joe are off to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And yet another similarity to the Lemony Snicket game, this is one of those movie tie-in games where they actually did get a majority of the cast to come back and reprise their roles.
I'm keeping my eyes on the prize.
I will devour every one of the chocolates and candies and things of this nature.
I'm going to look for things I want my daddy to get me. I'm gonna be bored. You think Wonka's got any video games in there?
Hell, even the narrator is the same from the original movie.
$10 was enough to feed his entire family for a week. So after careful consideration, Charlie decided to spend just $1 of it on himself.
The one big exception is obviously no Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. No, this time around he's played by voice actor James Arnold Taylor.
Dear visitors, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to my humble factory. Now quickly, we mustn't dawdle, there's far too much to see.
Really let that one sink in. Lemony Snicket game, they're able to get Jim Carrey to come back for that. This game, not good enough for Johnny Depp. Another good thing we got here is the music. It does have that Danny Elfman style wonder and whimsy throughout most of the game. And so we finally launch into the main crux of the game. You play as Charlie, and you have to do what you can to save the other children who are on the tour. The game has a total of 7 levels, and we already completed 1 so far, so you can tell we have at least 4 main levels dedicated to saving these other kids. You can explore this location, but it mostly sets the stage for what to expect. Instead of exploring, a lot of this game will have you, as Charlie, going around and trying to fix things that are going wrong throughout the factory. As if you work there, and you're not just simply there for a tour. First up, we got Augustus Gloop to save, and you have to get him out of that chocolate pipe. Now, since the Oompa Loompas swear to help you as best as they can, the game lacks in any real main villain. The closest thing you get are these defective robots that were originally built to make things easier around the factory, but all they do is actively screw things up and make things worse.
But these weren't ordinary robots, they were Wonkabots. They prove unlike anything my TV had ever tampered with. Something had happened, and for Charlie and the Oompa Loompas, things were about to get much worse.
Well, that seems like a pretty big design flaw. I mean, I get it. For the sake of the game, they wanted to have adversaries that you can go up against, but realistically, and I know that's an oxymoron when it comes to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but why would you have these knockoff claptrap-looking things running around, making the workday even more difficult when they were specifically built to make things easier? There's a very easy artificial intelligence joke in there somewhere, I know it. These things range between kidnapping Oompa Loompas that you're trying to find, to hurting you while you're trying to get your mission over with. It's especially confusing since, despite having a life meter in the top left-hand corner, you never really die in this game. Even when your meter runs out, you're still kicking. Even when you run out of energy, so to speak, you immediately restart where you are. Awfully generous of this game to do that. I mean, kind of takes any sense of challenge out of the equation, but hey, I'm not going to deduct points if it means that you don't have to start each level over again. Whenever you begin a new area, you have to locate at least 6 Oompa Loompas. When you find them, you can have them activate certain machines, cut down candy trees to get certain items, or begin helping with recovering the other children. This is probably the most tedious part of the game, and you'll have to use the D-pad to get these guys lined up to get a machine or side activity that they have to operate. The worst aspect of this is sometimes the controls get wonky, and it makes it very difficult to get these guys where you need them to be. Sometimes they'll just end up running straight into walls and just keep moving until you get them unstuck. Or stupid crap like this where you need to lead them up certain platforms. You do this by getting close to them, then they follow you, and you have to make sure you don't lose any of them. It really sucked when you had to do this in Shrek Extra Large, and it sucks just as much here. In the game, Charlie is given certain candy-themed abilities. Early on in the game, you're given exploding candy, which blows up the robots, and jelly beanstalk beans, which wrap around the robots and turns them into these chia pet-like balls. Special candies can also give you certain power-ups, like everlasting gobstoppers can be thrown as projectiles, and you get these bubblegum balloon things that bounce you up from platform to platform, all the while you sit on them like a hoppy hop. Now, I didn't get to this point in the game, but apparently there's also a stage where you float around after drinking fizzy lifting drinks. However, some of this can be quite difficult to maneuver. The bouncy ball doesn't line up with platforms properly half the time, gobstoppers barely line up despite being long-range weapons. You can also collect items through certain areas, which most of the time just results in boosting your health and life meters. And every once in a while, Grandpa Joe will show up to give you a hint that you need to progress through each stage. But hey, you want to know another thing that really sucks about this game that sucked in some of the other games we've reviewed this summer? The camera controls in this game are terrible. Whether it's getting too close to the characters and not being able to see what you're doing, or whenever it gets too close up, the camera usually blocks you from moving. My god, first Rascal, then Mega Man X7, and now this? Were the early 2000s just the prime era for crappy camera mechanics in games like this? Now, I gotta be brutally honest. I got about 2 levels into this factory stuff, and boy does it get repetitive after a while. It takes 3 different areas alone to get Augustus Gloop moving through the pipe and finally able to escape. Same thing goes for Violet Beauregard, and from everything I've read and everything I've seen, it's the same deal with the other 2 kids. Whether it's platforming, running up vines, dodging robots, activating machines, finding Oompa Loompas to help you, that's basically all you do. Rinse, repeat. All of that through a majority of the game. All the while, you have to find out what to do through sheer multitasking and trial and error. How appropriate. A game that's set in a candy factory, and it's filled with mostly filler. Sad to say, but the opening level had way more variety than a majority of this game does. I don't want to make it seem like the game is too difficult or too hard, because aside from the wonky mechanics here and there, it really isn't. Once you start to get used to things, the levels do go by pretty quickly, but the challenges are just so repetitive and samey that it's just not fun after a while, and I lost my interest pretty quickly. From what I found, the game does give you the opportunity to go back and collect more items once you've completed the bare minimum of the game, but I could not even be bothered to get there. I don't know, man. I'm halfway through the game. I mean, is it really worth continuing? Oh God, Veruca Salt, what's wrong with your face? Oh God, get that off the screen right now. I'm done. I'm not playing any more of this. So that was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory on GameCube. Do I even really need to say anything? This game sucks. It really is a shame. The music and the voice acting isn't bad. The presentation is certainly up to snuff for the most part, but man, the gameplay gets repetitive. The controls get really difficult to work with. Those robots are some of the worst video game enemies I've seen in quite some time, and the whole thing's just not worth it. I went into this game pretty curious as to what it would have to offer, and while they did try in some capacity, the game just was not that interesting by the time you're halfway through it. I was able to press on through games like Mega Man X7 and Series of Unfortunate Events, but yeah, I was not making it 100% through this one. I'd rather play the Willy Wonka PC game from 1985. That game could be slow and busted beyond belief, and I'd still rather speedrun it than this one. What a disappointment. Much like the movie it's based on. Well, okay, depending on who you ask, because I'm not even one of those people that hates Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but yeah, you'd be hard-pressed for me to say it was one of Tim Burton's better movies. Well, hopefully we have a good game to look at next time, right? Or let me guess, it's gonna suck, isn't it? Oh, okay. Billy and Mandy game. Alright, that gives me a little bit of hope for next time.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello.